In this video, a Ukrainian tank demolishes enemy positions in Bakhmut, an act made possible by the absence of anti-tank missiles like the Javelin on the enemy's side. Russian forces attempt to assault Ukrainian positions with tanks and armored vehicles. Ukrainian forces armed with javelins and NLAWs easily neutralize Russian tanks. The Javelin, a renowned tank killer in Ukraine, has destroyed hundreds of Russian tanks. Locking onto a target takes seconds, and a single press of a button launches the missile, which autonomously eliminates the target. Russian tanks often succumb to the Javelin's impact, resulting in dramatic scenes. Ukrainian tanks are reserved for counteroffensives as they are less effective defensively. Russian tanks, when ambushed, become easy targets, making javelins a cost-effective defense. Russian tanks lack effective defenses against javelins or NLAWs. While some videos show Russian tanks with anti-cumulative grills, they're of no help. Even the most recent Russian tank, the T-90M, is not impervious to the Javelin. Correct usage guarantees the destruction of any Russian tank. Javelin missiles have also brought down helicopters, although other anti-aircraft systems are more suitable. In early days of the Russian invasion, Javelin missiles played a pivotal role, resulting in significant losses for the Russians and recognition of the Javelin's remarkable effectiveness. The Javelin system comprises two components, the missile and the launch unit. The missile is a fire-and-forget weapon with an imaging infrared seeker capable of engaging stationary and moving targets. The Javelin's range extends up to 2.5 kilometers, penetrating armor up to 600 millimeters deep. Russian forces still lack a comparable weapon, prompting continuous military advancements from Ukrainian side. Here's one more example of successful use of this effective rocket launcher. The Ukrainian soldier takes a Javelin, points it at a Russian tank and fires a missile. This is what it looks like from a drone's perspective. Every day, Javelin and NLAW missiles help stop Russian convoys of tanks and APCs. But the Russians believe that the new generation grids will help them in the fight against the Javelin, so they've started putting dynamic protection on their tanks. It will be interesting to see their reaction when it doesn't prevent the Javelin ATGM from destroying a Russian tank. And these Russians got lost and drove down a mined road after an explosion. The Ukrainians launch an ATGM and finish it off. These Russian soldiers and APCs are ambushed by Ukrainians with ATGMs. The first APC rushes to a combat mission, but it's overtaken by a Ukrainian missile. Two more APCs follow, possibly on their way to evacuation, but the second APC becomes another easy target for the Ukrainian armed forces. After being hit, the armored vehicles catches fire, leading to a powerful explosion. The fate of the third vehicle is unknown. In another video, the BMP stands in a forest belt and fires at AFU positions. The Ukrainians fire from an ATGM, and a precise hit on the armored vehicle puts it out of action, resulting in a powerful explosion and the armored vehicle being torn in half. The second APC, realizing that the situation will end badly, drives away but not far. Ukrainian artillery strikes with several precise hits, one of which accurately hits the armored vehicle and destroys it. The Stugna P anti-tank missile continues to destroy Russian tanks, scattering their parts in different directions. Another Russian tank takes a position and the Ukrainians fire a missile. One more penetration and a powerful explosion. And this is another daring tank that explodes on mines after a combat mission, ending with huge pillars of fire and the loss of the T-90 tank. In general, Russian tanks continue to burn, shooting 5-meter columns of fire or explosions that toss the turret dozens of meters into the sky. And this is the work of Ukrainian drones on Russian armored vehicles. Another Russian tank falls into a Ukrainian trap and loses its tracks after dropping a grenade. A fire occurs and the drone flies to a safe distance, watching the tank burn. This Russian tank was stopped by Ukrainian artillery, and the drone drops 3 grenades, with the last one hitting the open hatch. The fire destroys the tank. This is the destruction of abandoned Russian BMPs. A drone drops a thermobaric grenade, hitting an open hatch. Nearby is the second BMP, and the hole the grenade went into is clearly visible. After the explosion, fire leads to another explosion, leaving nothing at the place of the BMP. This Russian junk isn't going anywhere. And this is the exact work of FPV drone operators. The first drone brings down an armored personnel carrier, and the Ukrainians send the second drone, completely disabling the BMP. Later, the Ukrainians finish off the vehicle with the Stugna anti-tank guided missile system. This video shows yet another example of the Russian military being reckless. The Ukrainians discover a Russian howitzer, and artillery receives coordinates nearby. The Russians have placed an ammunition depot, which is a huge mistake. One hit on a building, and not only the warehouse is destroyed, but also the delivery trucks, howitzer crews, and the gun itself. The first hit goes into the howitzer, and the second into the building. The second target is a Russian D-30 howitzer, and a precise hit by Ukrainian artillery causes an immediate detonation of the shells. The neighboring building also explodes. The Russians have stacked ammunition there. And this is the large caliber 2C4 Tulip howitzer. The 240mm gun easily destroys buildings and fortifications, making it priceless and in short supply. But the Russians are fighting as if they have thousands more of these mortars in stock. And from this video, you can assess the level of the Russian army. This is not a junkyard. This is not an abandoned position. This is a Russian army ammunition depot. Just one nearby hit destroys another depot. Another ammunition depot on the front lines, and here they were storing ammunition for a week of combat operations. Numerous means confront tanks today, and the most effective, as it was said, is the FGM-148 Javelin anti-tank missile launcher. Tanks and armored vehicles often create fiery spectacles due to outdated Russian designs and ATGM innovations. Lightweight systems enable saboteurs to ambush deep within enemy territory. A soldier emerges and engages a tank with an ATGM. The rocket precisely targets the engine compartment, damaging the tank. Another hit strikes the turret, reducing the tank to wreckage. A Ukrainian sabotage group approaches a Russian tank. A Javelin missile ascends and obliterates it. The Javelin reigns as the most perilous ATGM for Russian armored vehicles. Consider 3 Russian armored personnel carriers. Ukrainians, armed with Javelin launchers, halt one with a missile strike. Then they fire again, prompting the crew to abandon the vehicle. The remaining APCs are abandoned and subsequently finished off. A Russian tank convoy is ambushed by ATGMs and decimated. Missiles strike, followed by emerging armored personnel carriers, triggering mine explosions. The group has been defeated. The Javelin missile can down helicopters, effective against those at low altitudes. It boasts a range of up to 2.5 kilometers, with some sources claiming over 4,000 meters. The missile often targets vulnerable armor from above, causing damage by targeting crucial components. One shot can be effective, but Ukrainians often fire twice. The Javelin's tandem warhead with 2 charges leaves Russian tanks defenseless. Direct hits lead to ignition and powerful fires, potentially causing explosions. In some cases, tank turrets are propelled into the air. The Ukrainian Stugna missile launcher uses laser guidance to strike targets. The Anla offers low weight and rapid firing. Sweden's Carl Gustaf anti-tank systems are effective. Handheld RPGs can immobilize heavy equipment. Despite various different systems, the Javelin remains unparalleled in effectiveness.